Forget everything you think you know about who you are, because in a locked, damp basement 5 decades ago, a young professor stumbled on a secret that proves the monster isn't under your bed, it's in the blueprint of your mind. November 15th, 1971. A basement in Stanford college students was cast as guards and prisoners. The experiment was supposed to last 12 weeks. It was shut down after just 6 days. Why? Because ordinary, psychologically healthy men, given power and a uniform, became genuinely sadistic. They didn't become evil. The system simply unlocked a primal, hidden code. We're not talking about manipulation tricks. We're talking about the unspoken truths of the male psyche, hardwired by evolution, that influence everything you do, from ambition to why you struggle to ask for help, to why the bad boy is a cultural obsession. Thea's 12-minute deep dive will expose the dark triad within you, the invisible hierarchy that controls the Lucifer, and the silent, toxic covert contracts that are destroying your relationships. Be the end. You'll see why the man who cuts you off in traffic and the CEO making a ruthless decision are driven by the exact same ancient instincts. You need to understand this blueprint to override it. Let's start with the central pillar of this shadow world, the dark triad: narcissism, Machiavellianism, and psychopathy. Yes, it sounds like a movie, but it's a very real psychological model. Research consistently shows these traits are, on average, more pronounced in men. This isn't a moral judgment, this is evolution. Narcissism, the confidence needed to lead the hunt or attract a high status. Machiavellianism, the cunning to outsmart rivals for scarce resource. Psychopathy, the risk-taking needed for survival when the odds were stacked against you for millennia. These weren't flaws. They were survival tools, and that ancient programming doesn't just vanish, it transforms. The Savannah competition moves to Thiberarum. The desire for status shifts from physical prowess to social media likes. You are running ancient software on a modern machine. And that leads us to the next point, that if you're finding these hidden facts valuable, prove to the algorithm you're one of the few who is actually seeking the deeper truth. Like and subscribe to Advise Psychology. Know the next dark fact is about to expose your relationships. Competitive drive is deeply tied to the male hierarchy. Think of a playground within minutes, a pecking order is established. This isn't just a childhood game, it's a fundamental aspect of male social dynamics. Men are acutely aware of their status relative to other men. This is why an insult to your competence or your success feels like a physical blow. It's not just words. It's a challenge to your position in the hierarchy. This constant, subconscious social negotiation fuels ambition. But here's the toxic trade-off. It also creates a terrifying fear of appearing weak. This fear is the single biggest reason many men find it almost impossible to ask for help or admit vulnerability, because in the unforgiving logic of the hierarchy, vulnerability is perceived as a status drop, a weakness too great to risk. But if the fear of weakness makes us shut down our emotions, where does that energy go? The answer is revealed in the story of the nice guy who keeps finishing last, and why the answer isn't what you think. Let's talk about attraction. The bad boy is a cultural, but its persistence is a direct tap into these dark psychological drivers. A 2016 study found that men with these dark triad traits can be more attractive for short-term relationships. That dominance, the unpredictability, the air of confidence, it signals genetic fitness, a man who can protect and provide, even if he's unreliable. This isn't a conscious choice women are making, it's an echo of an ancient evolutionary strategy: secure the best genes, even if it comes with risk. The nice guy who finishes last isn't a myth, it's a reflection of a complex mating dance where the stable provider is great for raising a family, but the dominant, high-status male triggers a more primal attraction. This same drive for status and validation has a terrifying modern application. It makes some men susceptible to what is called the proteus effect, named after the shape-shifting Greek god. Think of the internet and the anonymous spaces of a comment section or a dark forum. A man who feels powerless in his daily life can transform. He can become a dominant, aggressive troll, he says, and acts in ways he never would in person, creating a digital persona that fulfills his unmet need for status and control. It's the Stanford Prison experiment, but digital anonymity grants a license for the darker aspects of the personality to take center stage. If you've ever felt betrayed by unspoken expectations, know this information is rare. Hit the like button so more men can gain this crucial awareness. Subscribe if you want to keep rewriting your emotional blueprint. But the deepest emotional damage often happens in silence. In the relationships that matter most, it's what psychologists call covert contracts. This is a silent, unstated agreement a man holds. If I am a good provider and do everything right, my partner will respect me and meet my emotional needs. He never says this out loud, but when his partner, unaware of this contract, inevitably fails to meet his unspoken demands, he feels deeply betrayed and resentful. He result a self-defeating cycle that poisons relationships. But the question is, why can't he just state his needs clearly? Why would a man choose this path of silent expectation and guaranteed disappointment? The answer is rooted in a cultural trauma that begins the moment we are born. The fear of vulnerability is one of the most damaging aspects of the traditional male blueprint. From a young age, we are taught to suppress emotions like sadness and fear. Boys don't criticize up. These aren't just words. They are commands that sever a young man's connection to his own emotional world. This leads to a terrifying condition called normative male alexithymia. It's a difficulty in identifying and describing one's own feelings. If you can't name what you're feeling, how can you process it, much less communicate it to others? Instead, these repressed emotions manifest in a different, more destructive language: anger, aggression, substance abuse, or a complete emotional shutdown. Silent, stoic man isn't always strong. Often he's just numb, cut off from a vital part of his own humanity. He's suffering in a self-imposed prison, a prison built by the ancient hierarchy we discussed earlier. Let's go back to that Stanford basement. 6 days. The experiment was proof that the monster, the capacity for cruelty and the submission to dominance, is a latent potential within us all and in men. The drive for hierarchy and power is a powerful catalyst. Understanding these dark patterns is not about excusing bad behavior, it's the opposite. It's about recognizing the hidden forces that shape your thoughts and actions. It's about seeing the immense pressure that evolutionary and social expectations of manhood create. If you do not understand this blueprint, you are destined to follow its default settings. You will be pulled back into the competitive drive, the fear of vulnerability, and the emotional shutdown. A way to hack this ancient code. It starts with one revolutionary act that the ancient mind would see as a sign of catastrophic weakness, but which is in fact the ultimate sign of male strength. Wait, you've unlocked 80% of the code. Don't risk letting the algorithm steal this final, most powerful secret. Lock it in. Subscribe now to Advise Psychology before we dive into the conclusion. For men, the path to true modern strength begins by becoming aware of these default settings. The way to hack the hierarchy is to consciously choose a different path. Ultimate act of strength is not the stoic shutdown. It is radical vulnerability. It is learning the language of emotion. It is having the courage to look at a friend and say, I am struggling, I need help. Darkness isn't something to be feared, it's something to be understood, because only by understanding the blueprint can we ever hope to build something better. If you found this challenging, that's good. That means the programming is being overwritten. I want to know your thoughts. What covert contract have you been holding? If you're serious about taking back control from your evolutionary default settings, here is your next command. Like this video to signal to the algorithm that this truth is worth spreading, and subscribe to Advise Psychology so you don't miss the next stage of the mission. Let me know in the comments below, and if you're ready to take the next step and learn how to use this knowledge to build genuine high-trust relationships, the ultimate defense against the dark psychology that surrounds us. Don't wait for your internal code to revert to default. Click that video on your screen now to claim the next step in your evolution. Thank you for watching. Conversation starts now.